for puzzling parts, and we're going to continue in the series of Karakuri work kits today. Today I'm going to be looking at the Newton box, so without wasting much time we'll get ahead and get started. As before, we've got the same tools. I've still got my gluing block, wood glue, pencil, gluing brush, I have my X-Acto knife and my set square. The one extra thing we're going to need for this box is we're going to use a screwdriver, so that's pretty much all we need. So we'll go ahead and open the box and see what we've got. Okay, so that's us ready to get started, and as I said, we're just going to go and clean up a couple of these pieces. So just with a little bit of sandpaper, I'm just tidying up the rough edges that we have on some of these corners. We really don't need to do a lot of work here, it's just a very light sanding just to tidy up and remove any little burrs. The first thing that the instructions suggest we do is actually build what will be the pendulum for the box, which is made up out of our small rod and our box. So with those pieces marked up, we're going to go ahead and glue that in place. So run a bead of glue all onto here. Now this is going to be entirely inside the box, it's never going to be seen, so you want to make sure it's well and truly glued on. Fortunately this time we don't need to worry about glue squeeze out, and to be fair we don't really need to worry about whether the glue is over the area we're gluing or not. It's not really going to make any difference to us. So I'm just lining that on the line, give it a good push down, so get it lined up roughly where we think it's going to have to be. So moving on to the next step, this is step number 2. We're going to build what will become the inside of the box. Now we're using this fairly thick plate actually that has the square already glued and drilled in the centre of it. That's going to be the bottom of the box in fact. So the instructions show you with a small hatched section, well that's effectively telling you the square is on the underneath. So we'll take that. We'll take the two fairly short grooved pieces, so to distinguish between the two. We have a wide piece, we have a narrow piece. We want the narrow ones for this step. And we have two effectively flat pieces. They're not notched in any way. We need both of those. They're different sizes, so it doesn't matter which end we put them on, but we'll get that sorted out. Now this one is pretty straightforward in fact. We're going to put our other flat plate to the side, and effectively all we're doing is gluing these guys together into a box and then gluing all of that onto the top of our plate. There we go, and that's looking pretty good. So at that point we have the inside of our box pretty much made. That's most of step B. The only other thing they show you to do is to slide this piece in. Now the way I've got my tape makes that kind of a challenge, but we can probably do it. So I'm just going to cut this down on the side, cut it down on the side. So yeah, just taking that tape down on either side, that allows me to fold it back out of the way, and we can just check that our top plate slides into place. And as you can see, yep, it slides in quite nicely, so I'm pretty happy with that. So of course I'm not going to get it back out now. So here's a little tip. If you're having a stubborn piece, just stick a little bit of tape on it and there you go, you can pull it back out nice and easily. So with that done, our inner box is pretty much complete. Okay, so while our inner box is drying, we're going to move on to the next step. I'm actually going to move on 2 steps because I checked the fit of this before we finished. So what we're going to do is actually get our little decorative pieces put in place. And there we go, that's us pretty good. So we'll leave that to dry up. This, as I've said before, a couple of minutes and this won't move within an hour. It's never going to come off there again. That's kind of important in this box because effectively we're going to require that piece in order to help us open the box, so we'll leave that to the side to dry. So this is section D in the diagram. We've got the 6 pieces here, so we're going to have 4 sides. We have an inner base, if you like, and eventually we're going to put the bottom on. So for the moment we don't need the bottom, we'll put that out of the way and we'll get this built up. As we've done before, effectively it's pretty simple. We've got a groove cut in here, and effectively this base section is going to fit nice and snugly into that groove all the way around. And again, we've got our nice lip that's been cut. You can see it's cut quite nicely there. So these pieces are all just going to come together and we should end up with a nice square box. So there we go, we've got our outer box built, so that's step number 5 complete and all together. There we go. The entirety of step 6 is to place the inner box into the outer box. I think we can pretty much do that. So with that done, joking aside, we're actually going to be able to go ahead and put the locking mechanism in place. So to do that, we're actually going to flip this over, and the little pendulum that we created earlier, we're going to actually screw in place. So we can put that in and take the screw that we got, take our screwdriver, and we're effectively just going to screw this into the pre-cut hole in the centre of our inner box. Now it's worth noting, once this goes in, the inner box isn't coming back out, so make sure you get this right. So we'll put that in place, and we're not trying to screw this in so tight that the piece is held in place securely. What we want to do is screw this in so that this pendulum moves freely. Effectively, the last step here is, once you've made sure this is going to spin freely, what you want to do is just check that when you put this base on, it still spins freely, because once this base is on, you're not going to be able to take it out. And that's our box done. So we'll leave that to dry for 15-20 minutes, then I'll come back, take the tape off it, we can give it a light sanding, and we're done. Okay, so the box has been drying for half an hour, something around about that. So it should be good and dry by this point, that I can go ahead and take all the tape off, and we'll give it a light sanding. So there you go, the Newton box from the Karakuri group. I have to say, in terms of the build, this one wasn't much more complicated than the first box that I did, the Kaku box. But in terms of the actual puzzle, this is a much better puzzle box. I certainly prefer this one in terms of the way that it works and the style of box itself. So I have to say, out of the two, this is certainly my favourite so far, if I can get my words out. So definitely the better of two boxes. I do definitely like this one. It's a nice box, the mechanism works pretty well. As you can see, you get things lined up and it opens perfectly. If you're off, then it's going to remain locked. So definitely a good fun box, and as you can see, the mechanism works very nicely. So there you go, that's the Newton box from the Karakuri group. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.